Hey guys, I am the Comics Kid 2099, and I have been trying to get into the habit of making Fridays be the designated days where I do videos on
Missed opportunities.
If you've never seen one of these videos before, basically I will talk about a book or a TV show or a movie, and I will talk about a specific plot point that I didn't really care for, and then I will talk about a way that that plot point could have been made better. Today I want to talk about the 1990s animated series Spider-Man Unlimited. This series started in 1999. It was sort of a sequel to the Spider-Man animated series that started in the mid-90s. There were a few things that I guess you could call discrepancies between the two series. For example, in Spider-Man Unlimited, in the first episode, Carnage and Venom show up, and they don't seem to have a human host. They are just big blobs of goo, and they can kind of transform and mold their shape at will. That was never something that Carnage or Venom could do in the original cartoon, or in the comics for that matter. And yet, I do believe that despite some of these discrepancies, this show was meant to be a sequel to Spider-Man Unlimited. The premise of the show is basically scientists discover that on the other side of the sun there is an identical planet Earth, and they call it Counter Earth, and that right there is absolutely ludicrous, but whatever, it gets kind of worse. Anyway, John Jameson, the son of J. Jonah Jameson, he is an astronaut, and he gets in a space shuttle to go explore Counter Earth, and Venom and Carnage, for some reason, get in his spaceship. And then Spider-Man is like, oh no, there's Venom and Carnage. I'm going to have to go and stop them from killing the Colonel. Well, he fails to stop them. I don't really know what their goal was because, frankly, I only watched the first episode of the series. It was that bad. I had absolutely no desire to watch the rest of the series after that first episode. So anyway, Spider-Man gets on the space shuttle and he's trying to fight Carnage and Venom, and then he falls off the space shuttle, he parachutes down, and everyone who has watched all of this happen is like, Spider-Man was trying to kill the Colonel. And so then Spider-Man, I guess, retires, and then there is a new spaceship built that is going to go and rescue the Colonel. And Spider-Man sneaks on board and straight up steals the spaceship, and this time he has a brand new costume. It's made out of nanobites, and then he goes over to Counter Earth and he discovers that this planet is made entirely of animal inhabitants. It's kind of like the Commandy series or Planet of the Apes. All of these people are human animals, basically, and they are all trying to hunt him down for reasons that I don't really understand, and then the first episode ends right there. Now, if I'm being honest, this series really felt like it existed only to try and grab the audiences of Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond was kind of similar. You had a new Batman with a new costume, and you had a very futuristic world with lots of science fiction-y stuff going on. With Spider-Man Unlimited, the only real difference is it's the same Spider-Man, but he has a new costume and he's on a new world that looks very futuristic, and he's kind of trapped there trying to get back home. And honestly, it's not a terrible premise. It's just that the execution was really, really bad. Like, astoundingly awful. For example, one of the big things that I had a problem with in this first episode was that when we first start, Peter is now married to Mary Jane. Okay, cool. I don't have a problem with superheroes getting married to each other. It's only the people who work in comics who have a problem with that. And then Mary Jane, as is seemingly her thing in the comics and the movies, she is kind of like, Peter, maybe you could stop being Spider-Man. I really hate it when you go out there and you're Spider-Man because I worry about you a lot. And then he's like, okay, fine, I'm going to stop being Spider-Man. And then we skip forward 6 months, and I think that's really problematic because as is, it kind of appears that Spider-Man is straight up leaving his wife so that he can go and rescue John Jameson. I really think this episode would have worked a lot better if Spider-Man made it over to Counter Earth on the first spaceship, the one that John Jameson was on, and then he's stuck over there, and maybe while he's over there he gets a brand new costume, or maybe his first costume gets destroyed really badly, and then he's like, well, I've got this spare that I took with me, I haven't really tried it out, and then it's the nanobite costume. Something kind of like that would have been really cool, and then you would not have the problem of Peter Parker straight up left his wife to go rescue this dude that frankly anyone could have gone and rescued. We see that S.H.I.E.L.D. is somehow involved with the spaceship because Nick Fury tries to stop Spider-Man from going. I think S.H.I.E.L.D. would have been much more well equipped to go and rescue this guy than one dude with a special costume. It just seems really strange to me that Peter thought that it was his fault that John Jameson was lost. And yeah, that's kind of Peter's thing. He's always trying to take responsibility responsibility for stuff that's not really his fault. Sometimes it is his fault, but most of the time he's taking responsibility for stuff that he really had no control over. For example, there is no way that he would have known that Venom and Carnage were going to go and hijack the spaceship that John Jameson was on, and yet he seems to think that he has to be the one to go and rescue John Jameson. Ultimately, the whole premise of this series is really weak because Peter seems to think that it's his fault when in reality it's not. And even though that may be how Peter acts in the comics, where he thinks that something is his fault when really it's not, he needs to kind of get over himself because he is a grown man. And if he doesn't understand that these things are not his fault and yet he keeps thinking that they are, that kind of makes him seem a little immature. And not immature in the Iceman Human Torch kind of way, but immature in that he is acting like a little kid. You know, sometimes little kids will see something and they will think that it's their fault when in reality it had nothing to do with them, and that's kind of how Spider-Man is. And it kind of bothers me when he takes these things and puts them on his shoulders when really he has no business doing that because these things have nothing to do with him and are in no way his fault at all. And that was really the big missed opportunity here. If Spider-Man had just gone to Counter-Earth on the first spaceship and didn't hijack the second one, then we do not have a Spider-Man who is willing to leave his wife for really no good reason at all. And then the premise of the series suddenly is a lot less shaky. Now, admittedly, there are some other things about this series that would have been abundantly awful, like dialogue and costume design. A lot of that stuff didn't really work for me, but I think I would have been able to have overcome that if we had just had a Spider-Man who is a little bit more likable and acts a little bit more like a grown-up who actually understands how the world works. So, have you guys ever seen Spider-Man Unlimited? Do you like this show? I personally am never going to watch it again. It looks abundantly awful, but if you guys like this series, let me know why you liked it in the comments below. I would love to hear you talk about some of the things about this series that maybe worked a lot more than I was perhaps willing to give them credit for, and I would love to hear you guys talk about some other things about this series that maybe did not work. Give your own missed opportunities about Spider-Man Unlimited in the comments below. And if you guys like this video, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you didn't like this video, be sure to leave me your feedback in the comments. I can only improve this channel if you tell me why you did not like what I was doing. Then maybe I can make some effort to try and make the channel better for you. That's really why I do these videos. I do these videos for you guys, and if you don't like something that I'm doing, I won't know unless you tell me. So please leave lots of feedback in the comments below, and I will be back tomorrow with an entirely different kind of video. So until then, I will see you guys later. Have a great day.